think you have to be in all places at all times. I've got to do a TikTok. I better go and do one now. Oh, yes, quick. And then I've got to go make the YouTube. Oh, I better get on
My guest
LinkedIn.
today spent 4 years doing everything the experts told her to do: website, business cards, networking. 4 years in, the business had stalled, her marriage had ended. Today, Tanya Pluckrose coaches women through that exact shift, the inner work that has to happen before the outer results can change.
Can you take me back to a moment in your own journey when you realized something on the inside had to change before your results and your exterior could change?
Yes, when I moved to America in 2015 on July the 4th, I started my first business and I did what the experts told me to do. They were like, well, get a website, get business cards, go networking, write a book. I even wrote a book, do a marketing course for a year. And I did all this, and my business solution was the client experience, helping small to medium-sized companies improve their client experience. And over 4 years, I was noticing that I'm not getting the results. I've invested heavily on the outside, but I'm not getting the results like money
Right.
as well as clients. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting the results. And even my marriage fell apart. And I'm like, this is not adding up. I've come to America for the American dream. Why am I not getting the dream? And I basically had to lose everything, like the marriage. I nearly went broke. I ended up living in this woman's home. She took me in with my two cats, Sydney and Serafina. They're Siamese. And I remember lying there going, what happened? I just don't get it. I'd done everything I was meant to. And then my mentor, the late legendary Mr. Bob Proctor, appeared. And he was doing a paradigm shift at the Sheraton Hotel at the airport in LA. And he was talking about if you're not happy with your results, it's a reflection of what's going on inside of you. You are being controlled by your paradigm and your self-image. What? And then I was like, what? And he kept talking about the self-image, which is identity. They call it identity now. And I realized that I had never shifted my identity. I still was operating as an employee of a company.
Mm.
And I had been an employee of a company flying for Qantas for over 21 years. So I'd never shifted the identity to being a successful business owner. On the outside, it looked like, oh, I've got it all together. But on the inside, that identity, which controls 95% of your entire life, was running the show.
Wow, that's amazing. What did you tell yourself was the reason why things weren't moving for you before you actually like started working on the inside?
I looked at it as I'm new to this. I've got the wrong strategy. I'm not doing the right marketing course. I always blamed the outside for my lack of results, failing to realize that actually it's the paradigm and self-image that's controlling the results, not the actual strategies on the outside.
Right. Do you remember what you felt like in your body?
Oh, just a nervous wreck, constantly worrying. And it just got worse and worse because I'd come to America with a big prudent reserve and I just felt like a leaking boat. The money was pouring out for Tom, Dick, and Harry. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll try that now. And I'll try that now. And it was just totally in disarray. I felt so dysregulated in my nervous system. I wasn't sleeping or eating properly, just trying to figure it out.
Right. Yeah, so before the results can change, you first have to change the way you see yourself, in essence.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And one thing I've noticed is that the way we see ourselves rarely comes out of nowhere. Like a lot of it was installed long before we were even aware of it. So when you look at the women you work with, how much
Mhm.
of what's holding them back actually started before they even started a business?
Oh, well, it starts between the ages of 0 and 7. 0 and 2 is the most powerful reprogramming because you don't actually have a conscious mind. You've only got a subconscious mind. So you're just taking in the fight your parents have just had about money. You're taking in what's on the TV. You're taking in what other people are saying, their opinions. It's just going in, and you cannot reject it because you don't actually have a conscious mind.
Right, you're just open to accepting anything that's coming your way.
Correct.
How does that early conditioning show up in the business?
It shows up often, for me, it used to show up in asking for the money,
Mm.
asking for to be paid. It's easy to be paid by a company. Oh, but you wait until you ask someone to pay you for your services in advance. You've got to have a rock solid belief in yourself. And that actually, I reprogrammed myself, believe it or not, to, with a rock solid belief, to love asking for the money. Love it.
How did you do that? How did you reprogram yourself to love asking for the money versus maybe being afraid to ask for the money?
It's a number of reasons. So I, I have discovered that you actually have to sit down and remember your successes. When you remember your successes, that in itself creates the belief about your magnificence and your worth, especially for women. My God, when you think how magnificent we are, and we carry children, we give birth. I mean, and most women play that down. Oh, I just had another baby. I'm like, what? What? You just produced another miracle, and you then spend the next 60 years, 70 years bringing it up, and women don't even count that as a success,
Right.
right?
I think
It's
many,
all of that convincing yourself of your magnificence. That is easy to ask for the money then.
awesome. So when someone is already making good money or has built a successful business or has a high paying career, where do you see them that where they still get in their own way?
For me, I've noticed that many women still run that identity of rescuing, of people pleasing, of fixing and controlling. And if you grow up in a dysfunctional home and you tend to take that pattern of or that state of being into any workplace, anywhere you go, that is a form of conditioning where you think, it's funny, it's sneaky. You get a high from giving, but afterwards you feel exhausted. So this identity of proving, it's proving energy, which you replace with, oh, I love being in control. I love leading people. But afterwards you feel so exhausted. So it's actually, you've got to reframe that to, um, I would rather have, as I say, feel peaceful in a state of peace and calmness all the time and get rid of this proving energy. And then, of course, everything starts to flow to you so much more easily than these tremendous highs and lows all the time.
So you
Because
mentioned
you
women
can't,
have,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go for it.
You mentioned that women have to have this thing of like having to prove themselves. When they're trying to prove themselves and they start a business, how does that show up there? Like how do they perform in their business and having to prove themselves?
Well, they may overgive with their clients. So they may, for example, this used to be me, is do a lot of free coaching. You're trying to prove yourself um, by giving a lot of free coaching all the time, hoping that you'll prove how good you are and then they'll want to sign up. That's one thing. The other thing is and I'm breaking the habit is you think you have to be in all places at all times. I've got to do a TikTok. I better go and do one now. Oh, yes, quick. And then I've got to go make the YouTube. Oh, I better get on LinkedIn. I better leave a post there. So you're you're throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall, as I say, hoping it sticks, but it's still proving energy. So you're still running that pattern within you of trying to control situations.
At what point do you see them actually like recognize, okay, I have an issue. I'm overgiving, I'm giving too much, and I'm still not getting the results that I want.
Well, results always tell the truth. The results always tell the truth. But I think what happens is the results, if you're not getting the results, then you're out of alignment. There's something not right here because you are giving a lot, but you're not allowing. And it's tricky because as women, our main purpose was to be to receive, right? And for the man to be doing all the doing, but that whole cycle, that whole pattern has changed where women are suddenly doing, but not sitting back and being open to receive. And that first thing is receive from the universe. So if you cannot sit back and allow, then you're ending up being like the caveman, out, out for the kill. Who can I go out now and kill to bring in food and protect the tribe? So you see how the roles have changed over the year? It's all got all convoluted. And I have to be honest with you. Okay, you said be absolute front. What I'm noticing is that there's so a lot of women, or some of my clients are getting caught up in, and myself, in the marketing strategy. And the latest ones are 5-day challenges. And then what I notice is it's all by men. And then it's all these men and these pages and pages of, and if you join for $5.50, then I'll get in and you can have the VIP. And that in itself, I can feel it on my nervous system. I'm like, that's a male orientated sales strategy. Stay away from the weapon. I prefer to do intuitive marketing as opposed to that grit and that grind, and you need to sign up. And the strategy never works because that strategy works for the guy who's just created it, and it'll work for a certain demographic, absolutely. But if you can feel it in your nervous system already, like, oh my God, I've got to do this. And then I stay away from that weapon now. I have to. It's out of alignment. There's no receiving at all. It's just head down, bottom up, grit and grind. You got to get it out. You got to do this. So
Yes.
it's taken a while, but I prefer the intuitive marketing now. It's in alignment with being a woman for me, and being open to allowing and receiving, right?
Right. Yes. I feel like the men and the women's nervous system are almost wired differently in
Hmm.
some places where,
Yes.
like you said, there's some techniques that they have that works perfectly for them. And when I see it, I'm like,
Yes.
I'm gonna skip.
Me too. Me too. Me too.
So you
Yeah.
mentioned that women have, well, some women have trouble receiving because we're now everything is
Hmm.
convoluted and we're
Hmm.
taking more masculine roles, right? How does it
Yes.
show up? How do you see women that are not open to receiving? Like what are they doing or not doing?
Well, the obvious signs are people pleasing, approval seeking. They tend to be great controllers, great leaders. Micromanaging is another one. Super vigilant all the time. And what happens is the same dynamics you grew up in your home. I believe in a dysfunctional home, everyone has a role to play. You've got the kingpin, then you've got the clown, you've got the rescuer, you've got the funny person, the person that just laughs off everything. So everyone's got a role. That same dynamic shows up in the company. Oh, don't you worry. And so the high achieving women are um, are taking care of the team, and then you're enabling many of the people not to be their true selves even in a team, because you're living from what I call a place of self-centered fear, and really you are just behaving as if you're living in that home again.
Mhm. That's very interesting.
Hmm.
So the fear, do they know that they have this fear, or they just feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Correct. No one knows, but they know something's wrong because they are so burnt out. And you know how it shows up? I've discovered it often shows up with by acting out. So when no one's watching, you've suppressed all these feelings. And remember, if you're suppressing fear, doubt, and worry, you're not expressing it. It's getting locked into the body, right? And it ends up being a state of anxiety you're living in, and anxiety leads to d- depression. Depression is just deep-seated anger. And then that anger has got nowhere to go. So then it ends up being dis-ease, and then depression, disease, and disintegration. So there's a ladder, a step-by-step thing that happens where I'm amazed, because I've just been back in Australia just for 6 months. I'm amazed how many companies have these third parties that they encourage their employees to go to, mental health companies, to go and get therapy. And it's almost legally binding. A company must employ a third party external mental health company to manage their company's, as I say, anxiety. But oh my God, so you're just going, I'm just amazed when you're not dealing with the root cause of the problem, and that's the identity. The identity within the company needs to shift and change, and the identity of each individual needs to shift and change when you become aware of your role and how you're showing up and shift it. And that takes a little time. You can't do a Neville Goddard on it. Oh, I'm just going to be this identity today. It's a play. It takes a number of, for me, repetitions to reprogram yourself to think, feel, and behave differently.
Absolutely. So when someone is operating out of alignment, at what point or what does it take for them to finally realize, like, okay, something is off and I need to look at other methods? Or when clients come to you, at what point do they come to you? What's happening in their lives at that point or their business?
Well, many of them will be unhealthy. So think about it. If you are suppressing all this energy, the only way to release it is to possibly overspend. You'll act out with alcohol. You'll act out with food, right? And you'll come and you'll realize my health is in such a poor state, which means you're suppressing a lot of the energy. And also, your bank account will reflect also your overgiving, right? You're not open to receive money because you're just giving away all your intellectual property all the time, hoping that someone might pay you. But that's still overgiving and not expecting to receive.
Oh wow, that's interesting. I never heard about companies putting their employees to go get, find the root cause of whatever's going on with
They
them.
never do. The companies don't they? They send someone to sit on a couch to have their soul soothed.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, but no one's talking about identity. You know, well, I mean, there's probably suggestions made on the couch about, well, why can't you just let go? Why couldn't you relax more? You really just need to relax. But remember, we're dealing with the self-image inside the subconscious mind, which you cannot outperform. So you must do the work, and it's called constant space repetition of new ideas over a period of time to support you to think differently, to feel different, and to behave differently.
So, what happens internally when someone tries to go beyond how they see themselves at the moment?
Well, as you know, this self-image or identity is a cybernetic mechanism. So you can outperform it, but if you haven't changed the cybernetic mechanism, which is like a thermostat, when I lived in Vegas, it would be very hot in summer. So if your thermostat is set to 72 and I open up the door in summer and a whoosh of hot air comes in, the room heats up to 85, 90, 100. Suddenly, the thermostat will kick in and try and cool down the room as quickly as possible to that 72. But I say get rid of the thermostat and get yourself a new thermostat, because it's like people in sales. They'll take off like a rocket ship and do really well. And then the cybernetic mechanism will go, hang on, you're not used to earning 300,000. Oh, we're going to have to sabotage this. Yeah, let's get you back to earning only the 100,000. Yep, let's just make things happen. It's a cybernetic which will kick in like the automatic pilot on a plane going from, say, Sydney to Los Angeles. Same thing.
So, when someone's trying to expand beyond their self image, what is that self image protecting? Because it continuously resists and kind of pulls them back to what they're used
Mhm.
to. So, what is it protecting?
It would be protecting the nervous system. So the nervous system is calibrated to a certain place of being, and then you outperform it, and then that nervous system, it feels in disarray. What do you mean you've gone beyond? Now I've got to get you back to feeling normal again. But it never was normal from the beginning. But that's how the system works, the nervous system works.
Okay, so the
So,
self image was built around what feels possible and predictable.
correct.
And now it's
Yeah.
being asked to do something that falls completely outside of the comfort zone.
Yes.
Now, what do women often assume is a strategy problem that's actually an identity problem?
They're not getting the results.
Right.
They're not getting the results. And then you've got to ask yourself, if you're not getting the results, as I say, it's have you, for me, this is what I say to my clients, but in order to get the results, the first place to start is to become the person that has already achieved the results. So many people are constantly working on the strategy. So if you're working on the strategy, then you first of all, your whole nervous system is in, I call it excited misery. Oh, I've got to have this. I've got to get this. So there's so much resistance that if we live in a universe that's run by laws, and one of the laws is the law of non-resistance. And I say we are urgent, but in a calm and relaxed manner. Calm and relaxed, knowing that all is well. All I need to do is do my work today in daytime compartments. I'm just going to do what needs to be done today and relax into the knowing that if I can see it in my mind, I'm going to hold it in my hand. So it's all about, for me, I love working with clients where we work on three levels: spiritual, intellectual, and physical. But the spiritual's the most important because that's part of the universe sending you, being part of you. And the more relaxed you are and calm and relaxed, your nervous system and relaxed, then you attract. You don't have to chase success, you attract it.
Right. You mentioned that in order for things to change, you have to see yourself as the version of yourself that has the thing that you
Mhm,
want. How does
mhm.
someone do that?
Well, it's a number of processes. So for me, with my clients, I spend time, first of all, getting them to remember their successes because we're programmed to remember our failures. That's the sad thing, right? So when you can remember your successes, success is an energy. It's
Mm.
just energy. And what's really good is you can take that success energy. I look at it as you know, when you have Super Bowl and the team wins and the coach often gets a big bucket of ice thrown over them. I look at it as you take your successes, especially the ones where you surprised and delighted yourself, where you were like, dang, I was good then. I remember that. And I accomplished that. And if you can tap into that moment, then take that energy and transport it to this future goal you want, then what happens is you are using the energy in trusting and knowing, well, if I did it there, I can do it over here. But it requires you spending time inside the boardroom of your mind. I call it, I have um, visualization outings 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day. Because if I spend too much time doing just the strategy, then I'm not in my heart. I'm in my mind all the time. And that's on the intellectual plane. So that's one thing you can do. I also get my clients to write out in detail, actually remember who you truly are. You've done that before. So what were you thinking then? What were you feeling then? And then you reprogram your mind. I get them to write out a whole new self-image script. And then I show them how to reprogram their minds with it.
Wow. You mentioned visualization outings. What is that?
Okay, so it's just about I take time out and 20 minutes, I put it on the clock. I get really, really relaxed and I know where I'm going. So if I, as I say to my clients, well, what would you love? I'd love this. And then I say, well, God gave you that. If you can see that right now, it's already done. It's just in another, it's in the fourth dimension right now. And if you've got different imagery to mine, so that means that there's a divine plan for you having that. So if you can continually remind yourself it's already done, now who's the person I need to become to achieve that? That's a very different version to the one that's showing up right now. And I often say, no, it's just remembering who you truly are. You've been that version before. Remember, when you achieve something magnificent over here, it's just remembering that and being that consistently throughout the day. And then that will happen very quickly, your future goal.
So you mentioned remembering who they are. Do you have any clients that have trouble remembering or trying to pull
Yes,
back on their successes?
yes, many of them. Because what happens is over a period of time, if you if you've incurred failure after failure over a period of time, or I call it feedback, but we'll call it failure for this interview, then what happens is you start to build the self image of a failure. So you're constantly imagining the worst because you've personalized that experience as if you're something's inherently wrong with you. Um, And really, it's two separate facts. It could be, well, I've run out of money, I'm nearly broke, but I'm not a loser. I've just somehow run out of money for now, but I'm still a good person. I'm still a decent human being in society. And I just have a financial issue at the moment. But money comes, money goes. So you separate the issues rather than saying, I'm nearly bankrupt. What a loser I am. Oh, I'll never amount to anything. You see how you personalize a situation that constantly perpetuates, I'm a failure, I'm a failure. When it's just separate the facts. Oh, well, that strategy didn't work, but I'm still want to help humanity. I'm really good at what I do. It's just the strategy needs a bit of tweaking, but I'm okay. Or, oh, well, that real estate deal didn't go through, but I'm still a great real estate agent. Oh, I'm really good at negotiating. I give the best client experience. So what if that deal didn't go? There'll be another one. You see how you separate it?
Right. Right. So the strategy can work, but if the self-image hasn't updated, they'll always eventually be pulled back to
Correct.
reality.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So what does someone look like on the outside when their identity hasn't caught up yet?
Okay. So remember, we have two self images. We have one that we project to the world, right? And then we've got the one inside that's more powerful than one we're projecting. And I say your self image is a feeling, and people can feel how you feel about yourself. And the feeling about you is coming from your programming. We're all energy. And so your paradigm and self image emits an energy field out. And I can feel, because I'm very intuitive, I can feel how someone feels about themselves. Even though they may have a cheerful disposition, no, I'm feeling, because we're all energy, there's something not right with this person. I know it isn't. They don't feel very good about themselves. I can feel it, right? And of course, the reason why you are emitting that feeling is because of your inner conversations all day long. They're very depreciating, right? So thoughts create feelings. So if you keep saying, I'm a bloody loser, never going to get this right, who would want to work with me? You're just constantly telling the subconscious mind what, and thoughts create feelings, and the subconscious mind is the emotional center. It's the emotional center, and that's what's being admitted out. And so I say to my clients, it's like you are like a 3-minute song on Spotify. And this 3-minute song, when you play it the loudest on your phone, you can only hear it up to 10 yards. And that's why you're not attracting, because I can only hear your song, that's you, for 10 yards. But when you change the self image, you automatically change your energetic field. And then that 3-minute song becomes a Super Bowl advertisement that goes for 10 minutes and the whole world hears it. And that's when you start to attract, because you've changed the energy field around yours to do with your self image, because we're all energy.
Right. So you said we emit energy. So do you
Mhm.
think that affects how people react to us when we're emitting certain energies and how our business does as far as attracting customers or clients?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because when I look back in my own business, if you haven't shifted your self-image, you're going to attract older versions of yourself all the time.
Absolutely. Now, what does it take to actually break the pattern?
Well, first of all, awareness.
Mm.
Awareness. You've got to realize, um, oh my God, I'm not getting results. And I have invested in Tom, Dick, and Harry. There's something not right here. I mean, I'm doing everything the experts have told me. So obviously something's not right within as opposed to without. That's the first one. And when you've got the awareness, then that puts you in a very powerful place to go, huh? There's something else going on. And then you then accept yourself for where you are. And then you realize what would happen if I got to the root cause of the problem instead of just another new method. I went within and changed the identity instead, because I've never actually done that. Shifted my state of being. And if I did that, what I've discovered with my clients, any strategy works. Any strategy will work after that, as long as you've done the inner work to change the way you think, feel, and see yourself. And that is a process. It's not a, for me, I've discovered it's not a Neville Goddard power of awareness. Just go and be this. I've discovered I've actually had to sit down and write her and then become her.
So how does someone get to the root of the problem or the root of the identity issue?
Understanding first. You've got to understand why you are stuck. You've got to understand what you're up against. That's the first thing, is the workings of the conscious and subconscious mind. That's the most important thing. What's going on inside the subconscious mind? And your subconscious mind is controlling 95% of your thinking, your emotions. It's controlling your decision making. It's controlling your effectiveness, your logic, your perception, your productivity. So that's huge. Your subconscious mind is controlling 95% of your entire life. So until you, first of all, accept that, become aware and accept that, then it puts you in a very powerful place to start to do the reprogramming.
You've mentioned a couple of times that your subconscious mind runs about 95% of your. So that means, in essence, most of our decisions are really subconsciously made before we
Correct.
even make them consciously, right?
They are. They are. Because what happens is, I'll bring up my stick person because I love this. Will give everyone an image of the mind. Okay. Most people think the mind is the brain. And I'm like, no, the mind is in every cell of the body. But this will create order for your audience today. So this is the mind and this is the body. The mind is broken up with the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and these antennas are your five senses. So inside the subconscious mind, this is where your programming is, your belief system, and your self-image. Your self-image is an idea about you, who you are, what you are worth, and what you are capable of. And that's been put inside of you genetically and environmentally. So going back to your question is, if you don't change the programming, then this programming is actually controlling the same pattern of thinking, the same pattern of acting, the same pattern of feeling. You see, you can only attract thoughts that are in harmony with the paradigm and the self-image. So you live, I call it, in a place of bondage all the time, because you're constantly, I've noticed in America, is people are constantly going and getting another degree, but they fail to realize that the degrees sit in the conscious mind. Most people, I've met professors that have got degrees falling off their business cards and they're nearly broke because they've never shifted their identity and never shifted their cybernetic mechanism of increasing their income and asking for more money and going and doing other things. So what happens is, if you're thinking the same pattern of thoughts, then you're only going to attract what's in harmony with this energy field, because the paradigm and self-image has an energetic field about it. You only keep attracting the same results, the same people, the same environment all the time. But when you start to reprogram the mind with new ideas about yourself, about money, about your business, and the clients you attract, then you suddenly are going to elevate to sit on a different frequency. And that's when you start to attract. This is what I call intuitive marketing, right? Intuitive marketing, because you're putting you're changing your energetic state to sit to be in a different vibration. And this vibration, if everything is already here for us, it just means you need to change your energetic state to sit in a different frequency where all your good will be there for you, right? See, it's almost like an elevator. I always think about an elevator. An elevator has a cable that brings the elevator up and down inside a shaft. And most people now constantly, the elevator door only opens up at level 7. Level 7, you keep getting out of level 7, yet you want to be at the penthouse. But you can't get to the penthouse, as I say, where everything's waiting for you up there until you do the inner work to think, feel, and see yourself differently. Then the elevator door won't open at level 7 anymore. It can't. You will be vibrating on a different frequency. And when you move up the shaft of the elevator, the cord is the vibration, will take you up to open up at the penthouse where all your, as I say, cash and prizes are waiting for you.
That's
It's I
amazing.
try and That's how I try and explain it to my clients, right? What floor are you getting off now? No, because it's like a house. Most people are living in the basement, and they're living in the basement, and yet this house has many rooms you could go to, including the penthouse. But most people think the same thoughts, which means your external environment will only mirror back your constant pattern of thinking that you think about all day long. It can't. Like attracts like attracts like.
You mentioned earlier that you had to write her to become her, or before
Mhm.
you could
Yeah.
become her. What does that
Mhm.
mean?
Well, it's literally, I get my clients, first of all, to come up with a big, audacious goal
Mhm.
and not worry about the how. Okay? Just what would you love? What would you love your business to be? Right? Then we're going to put it on a goal card. I get them to do that work first. And then I go and create a self image that matches the goal. You've got to know where you're going. The goal becomes the benchmark that you pivot off to write your new self image or identity. You've got to know where you are and where you want to go. And then once you've got that, you can start to ask very powerful questions about, well, if I was earning this amount of money, who is this person? How do they think? How do they feel? What sort of beliefs do they have about themselves? How do they show up every day in their business? What sort of decision makers are that's that takes time to start to think from the goal instead of to the goal, because most people are going after a goal but they've never shifted how this is a different version you need to become to have that quantum leap. That's what I mean by writing out a script.
Right, because normally we see when we create goals, or most people create goals, they go after the strategy. So this is the goal, and these are the things that I have to do as far as strategy. But
Yes.
how does someone turn around and think from the perspective of that person? Like, how do I become that person? How do they think of how that person would act if they were to become that person?
Well, you've got lots of role models you should go and look at. Are there people in your industry that you would like to emulate? Remember, everyone, though I say, if you see in your company someone who's a high charger who's getting results, then just remember they've just got a different self-image to you. They're exactly the same as you. We've all got the same piece of equipment. They're just using their equipment differently to think, feel, and see themselves differently than you currently are. But don't worry, you can be like them, and it won't take you 20 years, love. I most of my clients within 6 months will get the results really, really quickly because they shifted the identity, which was always the root cause of the problem. So, how do you know? I go and speak. I often say to people, go and ask them, how do they think about themselves?
Mm.
Go on, go and ask them. That would probably be even the most intriguing question. Not what's your strategy? Tell me what your strategy is. Forget the strategy. Go and ask them how they think, feel, and see themselves. Right? They may not be able to even explain it. That's the crazy thing, is because they're probably unconscious competence, right? A lot of people are unconscious competence and can't explain how they got there, but unconsciously, they are operating from a self image of success and not failure. They're able to respond to their failures instead of react to them,
That's interesting.
right? Just respond to their, oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, well, I'm going to be, they don't spend time stewing in it and then making themselves wrong. They kind of, dust themselves off, pick themselves up, dust themselves up, and keep moving, right? And I think it's hard for women in particular because we've been programmed to compare ourselves, and that's probably, the more you compare yourself, the more you despair because you're thinking, "Oh, I'm not good enough like her or him." And I'm like, no, you don't want to be like anyone else. Nobody is like you, and nobody, um, is like you, or nobody it can compare to you. And this is where the spiritual part comes in, where you've got to remember that you are a child of God and God has a divine plan for you. And if you can live more trusting um, that everything is always working out for you, and that if you can hold it in your head, you're going to hold it in your hand, and stop worrying what anyone else is doing. Is I say, just stay in your hula hoop. It's okay. You lose yourself. I was on a call yesterday with a client, and she was saying, I said to her, what happens? What happens to you? Um, she said, she was telling me she had the report card syndrome. I said, oh, well, I brought this analogy up. And what happens is when she's not achieving her results in real estate every month, she takes a dip in the valley, as I call it, because the report card said, the sales sheet said, you're not there yet. Look at you. You're only up to selling one house this month. Shame on you. So you personalize that you're not there yet. So you're constantly feeling lousy all the time and making yourself wrong. Oh, that's not very attractive to find new clients, that $1 million client or anything. So, for property
Yes.
selling. And so I'm like, it's good to go and, as back to your original question, go and see other people you would like to be like, but don't go too big. I mean, I wouldn't go and study someone who's earning 50 million a year. That's way too much of a gap. That's when you would lose yourself and go, I'll never get there. Go to someone in your industry who has the results you would like, but is a few miles down the road, but not too much down the road, where you're able to, you can feel the vibrational resonance. I really love what she's doing. And I really love, she's very this and that. I'd like to have some of her characteristics. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to have some of her results. And so you incrementally change the self-image from a small to the next little increment to the next increment. Don't go and look at the big $50 million players. Oh my God, you'll just lose yourself again.
Right. If they do too much of a big of a stretch, they'll almost feel like
Yes,
self-defeated.
correct.
Last question.
Yes.
So, what would you say to the woman who's capable, she knows what to do, she's tried everything, but she can't seem to get past the same level?
Well, then it goes back to, if you can't get past the same level, it's time for an upgrade in your self-image, because your current self-image, if you will only take you to a certain place, then you'll reprogram yourself with this new identity and you'll go to another level. But once you're at that level, you have to go, and this is me, I have to go and get another new goal, because I'm earning, say, 100,000 a month. So I want to earn 200,000 a month, or whatever the goal is. And then you go back to, now, who is the person I need to become to achieve that result? So it's constantly upgrading the image, constantly upgrading it. And it never stops. When I think about my mentor, the late legendary Mr. Bob Proctor, he changed his self-image 4 times in his lifetime. 4 times. Right? And he would often say at 87, I'm just getting started. He was a multi-millionaire. I know I could be doing better. He'd say, I haven't even realized my full potential. So once you start this, I have to put a caveat out right now. It never stops. It never stops. And in fact, it's dangerous to stop, because that old self-image will always be there. And if you haven't replaced it, it will show up again. If you are not constantly working on a goal and constantly working on your self-image. I've seen it coming home to Australia, where I've come home, my parents are elderly, and I'm a very successful business owner. Yet if I go into that environment, you wouldn't recognize me. You wouldn't recognize me. I'm that little girl again, especially around my father. And he's getting old. He's 96. And I wrote a post on LinkedIn yesterday about it. And it was all about, there's a saying, the person you are today without money is the person you're going to be with money. The person you are today is going to be the same person 40 decades from now, 4 decades from now. And I'm looking at my dad. My dad never did the inner work. So I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. He was the king, and we all, the women, did this dance around him. And it's got worse as he's aging. Shame, he's frustrated. I know that. Frustrated, very frustrated. He was told he couldn't drive the other day. He had a mini stroke. And oh my God, the way he's carrying on, I'm like, so glad I've done the inner work. Oh, so glad, because I'm able to show up with compassion and love and understanding, and not take it personally, because I understand what's going on. So I believe that you constantly have to be working on becoming the best version of yourself. And it's fun work. I'm not saying at all. It's delicious to surprise and delight yourself when you start to respond to life instead of react. Oh, you just feel so powerful and so peaceful, because you're able to, like I said, control your responses, right? And then, of course, the more you control your responses, we are always tested by the universe. So circumstances come in all the time, right? I say to help you see where the weaknesses are in your current self-image. But if you can take the circumstance and ask yourself 2 questions: why is this happening? And what do I need to learn? And I often say, oh, I need to tighten up on that part of my self-image. I reacted. So my new self-image script will say, I refuse to let anyone or anything disturb my peace of mind. That becomes part of my new self-image script. I get that into my subconscious mind. So when another circumstance shows up, it pops up like toast from the subconscious mind. Oh no, I refuse to let anyone or anything disturb my mind. Okay, that's interesting. Can you see it becomes an automatic response, because I've reprogrammed the subconscious mind to act in a certain way. and then that becomes your new way of being.
Thank you so much, Tanya. This has been amazing. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Okay, so I've got over 400 videos on YouTube. You can go and watch them. They're all there, with lots of teachings on how to master your mind so you can master your life. And it's just Tanya Pluckrose. I'm on many platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. But I'm gonna be honest with your audience right now, Desi, and say to them right now, I'm upgrading my self-image right now. Again, to go to another level. So you may not see me on all these platforms because I had this awareness the other day that I am going to do it a little bit differently. That if I've got this new goal, then it's about the quality and not the quantity anymore. So I'm become aware, I'm feeling stretched. Oh, this isn't in alignment with the new
Mm.
self-image. So I'm now going to upgrade her to do it differently. Can you see? Because I became aware of I'm feeling burnt out doing all of this jack of all trades, right? So that's for the moment. You'll find me on all those
Right.
things.
No, that's
Thank you,
amazing.
love.
That's amazing and inspiring.
Thank you, love. And great questions. I think you have to be one of the best interviewers I've been,
Oh, thank
where
you.
I was able to really go into detail to help your audience.
Yes.
Just from this podcast, people could start the transformational process, right? For
Absolutely.
themselves. That's what I want. I don't want you
Yes.
to sit there and say, well, that's nice. No, I gave you gems where
Yes.
you can go and now use them and go and do some of this work. That's what I want more than any from this podcast. Not just because inspiration has a very short shelf
Oh,
life.
yes.
Right. But you can go and take some of these and start writing the script.
Yes, I definitely I would love for people to actually listen to these messages and put them into practice, not just, oh,
Yeah.
that sounds great and kind of leave it there. I want them to actually put things into practice and try them out for themselves and change their lives, quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
I believe that there's so many people out there. What I love is that are becoming aware, and then for us to be the change makers to help people change their lives in a very short period of time,
Yes.
rather than, having to struggle for years and years when you could have a quantum leap in your identity within 6 months, if not sooner.
Yes, that's amazing. If this conversation sparks something in you, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're a woman who's been doing everything right but can't seem to break past a certain level, DM me the word stuck on LinkedIn.